Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Executive. My name is Councillor Paul Follows, Leader of the Council and Chair of this meeting of the Executive. This meeting is being held in the Council Chamber at the Berries in Godalming and webcast live at the same time. The agenda was published on Friday, the 2nd of May 2025, and a supplementary agenda pack was subsequently published on Monday, the 12th. First off, apologies for absence, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Just confirm we've had apologies this morning from Councillors Mark Merriweather and Kika Merrilees.
Thank you, Chris. Declarations of interest. Any declarations from any members of the Executive? Seeing none, then moving on to item 3, questions from members of the public. There have been no questions from members of the public. Item 4, questions from members. I've received 2 questions from members. The first, I believe, is from Councillor David Beeman, who's here with us. The response to your question, of course, has been published on the website, which I hope you've received, and I believe you have a supplementary, David.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes. Thank you for the written answer to my question, and I'm very grateful for clarification that the discretionary household review is being considered separately from the work of the proposed temporary EWG that has been formed to consider the general application of SIL in Waverley. My involvement on this matter arises from my membership of the Audit and Risk Committee, and the answers given to questions that I asked on SIL liability at the meeting that was held on 24th of March. At that meeting, Claire Upton Brown implied that the only ground on which a discretionary household review is likely to be considered was financial hardship. However, one of the matters to be considered by the proposed EWG is why the Council did not adopt an exceptional circumstances policy which would have allowed flexibility in cases of hardship or genuine error. I would therefore like an assurance that apart from hardship, genuine error will also be considered as one of the criteria under which the discretionary household review is being undertaken. The views of full council have already been made quite clear when on 28th of January it resolved that in line with West Berkshire, householders previously subject to SIL liability can request a discretionary review by the council within a window from 1 June 25 to 31 May 26. Whilst I understand there is now some question of the legality of the West Berkshire scheme, which incidentally is acknowledged by West Berkshire but regarded as low risk, why didn't officers draw the attention of members to the legality of the West Berkshire scheme in January, and indeed why did it take so long to bring questions of legality to all members? In view of the high level of public interest in this matter, I would now also like any consideration of the final decision of any discretionary household review not to be restricted to members of the Executive Committee, but by all members at the meeting of full council. The Leader has in his position as a Surrey County Council given all Waverley members a meaningful vote on LGR when it could have, like Surrey, considered the decision on LGR to be an Executive Committee decision. I trust that a similar approach will be taken to all members to vote when there is a decision to be made on the discretionary household review. Finally, but by no means least, I find it regrettable that this issue is now becoming politicised involving MPs, but perhaps understandable given the length of time it is taking to reach a conclusion. I would like to emphasise that the questions I'm asking and will continue asking have the only objective of doing what is right, rather than seeking any political gain or advantage either personally or for the final residents group. Thank you.
Councillor Townsend, do you want to answer any of that? And I think it's possible that some of that might need to be replied to in writing as well. We'll carry on, Liz.
Thank you, Councillor Beeman, for your question. Can I just say we can't preempt what the report is going to say that is coming from officers. So we will look at that report in the executive briefing. It will then go to forward to ONS and back to executive, and it will be looked at fully, but we can't preempt what's going to be in that report at this stage. So I'm afraid you will have to wait for a response to your questions, but I can assure you that all of that will be looked into. And I'm sorry I can't say that at the moment, but it's really important that we go into that meeting and we look at all the evidence that is available to us. So that's how things will progress through the formal process of the council. Thank you.
And Councillor Townsend, just to confirm, we have a full agreed timeline schedule for the report coming through that process now?
Yes, and that timeline has been sent to all councillors by Claire Upton Brown. Thank you.
Thank you. The second member's question I have is from Councillor Munro. Certainly you also had a response printed and published. Do you want to ask supplementary, David?
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for the response, which is very positive, and the Friendship Pond Sailing Club will be very pleased as well. There has been lots and lots of delays on this, so could I just ask really for the record the answer to the question says it will be decided on the 3rd of June at your executive meeting, can I really press for that date actually to be set in stone so that the sailing club have certainty one way or the other? I'm not there to preempt, or neither do they, your decision, but I hope it will be a firm decision which will allow them to access grant funding to continue their excellent work.
I'll say this nebulously to the room, to the various officers who'd be responsible for making sure this happens. That is, I need to just absolutely ensure that the report that is due for executive briefing on Friday is with officers by midday today, because I want to give Councillor Monroe the assurances this will be dealt with in the timeframes that have been responded to in that way. So that is me saying that will happen, David, okay? Thank you. Right, in which case then we'll move to the rest of the agenda, which is starting with leader and portfolio holders updates. Thank you, everyone. So, yes, thank you for the exec and also members of the council for their discussion on LGR. I had, despite being far away, significant FOMO from a long way away at that meeting, to the point that I did dial in, but I think the outcomes were positive. You'll be aware also at this point, Surrey County Council have agreed to the 2 unitary version. Just something I wanted to say in response to a number of residents that have spoken to me over the last few weeks. This group here and at Surrey have opposed this process from the start, but we also think, and Councillor Townsend articulated this very eloquently during the full council itself, we all think that to sit and do nothing would be irresponsible. And bearing in mind doing nothing would also mean that the Surrey proposal was left to the government by itself with no other comment. That again would also be irresponsible. So that is one of the reasons why we have put forward the 3 unitary proposal that we have, not because we are ourselves enamoured with the process that has been put forward and the speed of that process, but to do nothing would be even more irresponsible during this process, hence why we put in what we have. I was also very sad to miss the VE Day celebrations across Waverley, but some fantastic photos and lots of good engagement across the borough. Certainly the Godalming, Farnham and Cranny and Hazelmere elements that I saw photos of look fantastic. Right, I will do the rounds now for anybody that has any updates. Starting with Councillor Fairclough, no, Councillor Keele, Councillor Long, Councillor Williams.
Just very briefly, just to inform members that Waverley Borough Council will be supporting Great Big Green Week across Waverley, and that's the week beginning Saturday the 7th of June, and further information is coming shortly.
Thanks, Steve. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Leader. Just to say I support all your comments about the local government reorganisation, and there's been a lot of talk generally about residents being very upset that they haven't had more information about it. I mean, obviously we only had 3 months to put our proposal together, but residents really feel left out of the decision-making process. And I think that the way that Surrey approached the results of our survey, which was 3,300 residents, was quite poor, really. They didn't take it into account and dismissed it rather. So that's a shame. We're now in the hands of the government, but hopefully they will be listening to the district and boroughs as well. Just to say, with regard to the question earlier from Councillor Beeman, obviously, we are committed as an executive to making sure that we proceed through the investigation of SIL and give it our full consideration, and that meeting will be on the 1st of July for executive to consider that report. And also just to say that our business question time for economic development, where we will be pushing Big Green Week as well, which the economic development team have been involved in. We have got about 100 attendees, which is our biggest number ever, who are booked to come, and hopefully some of the executive will be able to support that on the night at Farnham Castle, and starting at 5 o'clock. So the main talk is about AI, so I'm sure it'll be really interesting. Thanks very much.
Yes, that will be. Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Councillor Rivers now. Councillor Crowe.
Thank you. I just want to endorse as well the comments made by the Leader and Councillor Townsend about LGR. It's an understatement to say that I'm disappointed about the process, quite honestly. I'm pretty disgusted, in fact. I'm disgusted with the Surrey County Council aspect to it, but to be honest, I'm not exactly enamoured of the government's approach to it either. I very much hope that the government was going to be listening to us. It's very disappointing. The more you read, the more it sort of dawns on the sort of public about, hey, something is actually happening here. The more comments you get about, well, why haven't we been consulted? And I think it's very much to the credit of the D&Bs that they have made, you know, genuine attempts to consult the public, which is fantastic. But it really is pathetic, actually, that there has not been wider public consultation led by those who should have been leading it about this very complicated matter. That's really all I wanted to say, but I support the comments made by you both.
Thank you, Janet. I think it was Gemma actually in the meeting last week. You extrapolated the percentage on the on national survey equivalents. And don't get me wrong, 3,500 people out of 1.2 million residents in Surrey is obviously a small number. But Surrey County Council did take the opportunity to criticise publicly the districts and boroughs for attempting to engage at all, and indeed whinged to MHCLG about it, who, to their credit, told them to go away on this one. So I think it was obviously no engagement in the time that we've got would have been enough, really. And actually, and I know a few of you share this view, the only thing that would have been real on this would have been a county council election where this debate was front and centre, which is obviously what should have happened. Right, then moving on to the items on the agenda. Item 6, recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. There are no recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committees, and they next meet tonight at 7 for a simultaneous meeting of both committees. Right, 7, approval of additional budget request for water hygiene services procurement. This is with Councillor Paul Rivers to introduce. Paul.
Thank you, Leader. Firstly, may I thank officers for a very detailed and a readable report. This is one of the outcomes of the Regulator of Social Housing's review, which we got a C2 award. I'm going to say award because it was pretty good. It was for officers to reconsider the council's approach to water risk assessments, in particular with an emphasis on removing the risk rather than just controlling it through a programme of converting homes to direct mains water supply. This is a significant, actually the word significant is never sufficiently significant for £1 million. But it was something that has been identified after the budget round. So in section 2.1 and 2.2, we read that a capital budget of 840,000 to procure Legionella and water hygiene remedial works is required, and a revenue budget of 162,000 to ensure that all blocks of flats are risk assessed, and this is to be funded from Housing Revenue Account Working Balance Reserve. At the last Landlord Services Advisory Board, at the end of last month, this report was well, the issues of the report were raised and reviewed. We had a presentation from Hugh Wagstaff on it, and also Stuart Watson, who's our compliance officer for water hygiene and lift maintenance. The board was advised that tenants would receive additional advice on how to avoid the risk of Legionella by flushing through pipes when they had not been used for a while, such as when returning from holiday to run the showers for a good 5 minutes. The board was very happy that the request for an increase in budget for this, as set out in this paper, is recommended to the Executive and Council to approve. Thank you.
Being a bit of a risk assessment nerd, they have a health and safety risk assessment process called ERIC PD, and the E means elimination. And effectively, this paper, prompted by the housing assessor, is asking the council to take an approach where instead of merely controlling the risk, we seek to eliminate that risk, which is both in health and safety process and I think in logical terms, the more reasonable thing for us to do. So there's a reason why we're taking this new approach. It's a reasonable thing for the assessor to suggest. And as has been mentioned by the portfolio holder, this is after the budget round and from the HRA. Are there any further comments on this? Otherwise, I think this one is in the no-brainer category, considering it's effectively about the health of residents. Okay, in which case recommendations are in the paper. They are recommendations from us to council, recommendations 2.1 to 2.5. Can I have all those in favour, please show? Thank you very much, everyone. Moving then on to item 8, the Guildford and Waverley safeguarding policy. As the portfolio holder isn't here for this one, I will introduce this. We are wanting to tidy up our safeguarding arrangements and also to make sure that we have a combined policy with Guildford so that officers who work for both councils, either now or in the future, are able to refer to one policy and to implement a common practice across both councils. I do want to thank all our officers who have worked on this. In the absence of the portfolio holder, I will just go to the appropriate AD, Sam, who's on the Zoom. Is there anything you want to add to this, Sam?
Thank you, Leader. At the moment, no, I think you've covered it, Councillor Follows. This is just for us to ensure complete compliance around safeguarding. It's absolutely essential for both our organisations, and we hope the Executive will support us in ensuring this policy and procedure can be implemented across our staff body. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I'm also just going to add recommendation 2.2, which is just going to delegate to the AD and the portfolio holder the power to make minor drafting amendments. There are a small number of typos and other things in there that just need addressing. So just to make sure that's tidied up. Are there any other comments on this item? Alex, did you want to add something there? I can usually delegate to the AD in consultation with the portfolio holder, that's how I'll articulate that, just to be clear. Any other comments on this? Otherwise, I'll bring it to the recommendations. Okay, in which case, can I have all those in favour of recommendations 2.1 and 2.2? Thank you very much indeed. Item 9, shared legal services and information governance function between Waverley Borough Council and Guildford Borough Council. That's a nice snappy title, isn't it? In which case, I'll hand over to Victoria to introduce.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm very pleased to introduce this item, which proposes shared legal and information governance services with Guildford Borough Council. The way this is being proposed, Guildford would delegate their functions to Waverley to provide. The service being shared will give us greater resilience, capacity and capability, and will provide us with both cashable and non-cashable benefits, which will in turn benefit our residents and provide the best value for money. Providing shared services in areas such as these is completely logical, and we are able to benefit from this due to our collaboration with Guildford. A well-functioning legal and information governance service is absolutely key to the delivery of all of our services and will help us to ensure that we meet all of our statutory duties. We hope that a shared service will reduce our dependence on external advice, which is often very expensive, and will also create career paths for our staff. Guildford have already approved this, both at their executive and also at their full council last night. If we approve this today, it will come to our extraordinary council in June. Staff will be consulted with. Due to the time constraints, we will need to start the consultation before the extraordinary council, but it will be subject to the approval of that council meeting. I'd like to thank Claire Beasley for all the work she's doing on this and for producing the report. And thank you. If there's any more further comments.
Thank you, Victoria. Any other comments from anybody? Otherwise, I think this is one of those ones that takes us in the right direction with our collaboration with Guildford, but also does the right thing by staff and make sure that we can maintain and expand our ability to fulfil our obligations in legal and governance. Any other comments, anyone? No, in which case, bear with me while I move to the recommendations. So there are two recommendations for us to resolve, 2.1 and 2.2, and additional recommendations 2.3 to 2.5 that are recommendations to council. Can I have all those in favour of the recommendations, please show? Thank you very much indeed. And as there is no further business on the agenda, I can close the meeting at 10:19.